Guys, I was an idiot. I quit my job without having any... What up, guys? Hey, I'm Jack, your failure connoisseur, and today I'm interviewing myself. My guest dropped out last minute, so I'm afraid I am going to be doing episode 106 of Webflail, which, is a bit narcissistic, but I wanted to get an episode out there, and I've basically been asked a few times how freelancing is going. So it's going okay, but the failures that I want to talk about today are: 1. Setting up an emergency fund before quitting your job to go freelancing. 2. Cash flow. And 3. Working with friends versus showing the work you want to get. Okay? Hopefully this is helpful for anyone that's been asking me how freelancing is going. And I've been like, yeah, it's going great. And I'm like, is it going great? So wanted to just come clean with a no BS episode of how freelancing is going. If freelancing is going well or badly for you, hopefully there's still some insights that may or may not be helpful. Okay, diving in to this thing. To give you an overview of how this thing has gone in the last 3 months, so I quit my job in the summer. I was working for Arnell Ross, working with Maku Studio. Great fun, really interesting, but I wanted to try and freelance again because what I found is after doing Webflail for a couple of years, people have started to see me more as a kind of marketer. I guess that's the right word. I don't really know. It's basically someone that talks to a lot of people and likes to talk about what a lot of other people are doing in the Webflow space, which I truly love to do. But I wanted to freelance again because I wanted to actually create stuff. And there was this weird tension with doing Webflail where I was basically asking a load of freelancers and agency owners how they did what they did without me actually being involved in it as much as I would like. So I kind of felt like a bit of a fraud, I guess. So yeah, I wanted to get back in the ring and do creative work and actually get into Webflow day in, day out and make stuff and do designing and do developing. So that's why I wanted to go freelance. How has freelance been going? July, £2,000 a month. August, £2,500 a month. September, that was around £4,000 a month that month. And then October so far, I've earned £850 this month. So that's how freelancing is going financially. And how is freelancing going generally? I've been really enjoying it. I've enjoyed the choice that comes with freelancing. I've enjoyed working on projects that I want to work on. And here's what's been going well. What's been going well is choosing a lane and sticking to that lane. Because I think the problem that I've noticed in the Webflow space is a lot of people saying I'm a Webflower. And I think the thing that when you say I'm a Webflower, there's a number of things that I think that means is, one, you're niching yourself by the platform that you use. I think there's a lot of people that do a hell of a lot more than just Webflow in the Webflow space. They actually use Webflow as like a plate. If you imagine a plate of food and Webflow is the plate, and then on top of that you're building this plate of food out with loads of different stuff, right? You've got Airtable, you've got MemberStack, you've got Shopify, and you might be linking that with Shopiflow. There's GSAP, you might be using different code libraries, right? Like there's so much more that people are doing in the Webflow space. Like, who's a Webflower? Okay, well, Joseph Berry's a Webflower, but he's doing loads of stuff on top of Webflow. There's someone like Greg Faulkner, who's an incredible automations expert, or Chris Elson. There's Stephanie Bruce, who's doing amazing things with Spline and GSAP. These guys are all they're all in the Webflow space, but by just saying I'm a Webflower, they might actually be limiting themselves. They might be putting themselves in a box that actually doesn't fit them or their skill sets or how they might want to differentiate from other Webflowers. So by focusing on Spline and Webflow, I've been having inbound requests about Spline, which means that, they want help with animations or, 3D assets. And then I get to actually work on, broader stuff with that project. And I've been getting inbound requests, particularly on LinkedIn, interestingly, because I've chosen to post my work every single day on LinkedIn and Twitter. Nothing else. LinkedIn and Twitter. Every day I'm posting something. It might be a clip of a scroll animation I've done. It might be a conceptual project. It might be an experimental project. It might be work that I've done 2 years ago. It doesn't matter for me. I'm posting visual work that I want to get, showing the work I want to get every day on those platforms. And I think wherever you give light, something will grow, right? Wherever you actually show up consistently over time, that will turn into a lead source for you, okay? You've heard this advice a million times on Webflail from different freelancers, but that's been working for me. And I've particularly seen the power of that with this 30-day Spline challenge, where essentially every single day for 30 days I made something in Spline. People are now tagging me in posts on LinkedIn, on Twitter, for people that are looking for, 3D assets inside their website projects. Perfect. So if you're like, hey, I don't really have, a niche. Well, how do I choose a niche? Why don't you think about what is the perfect project that you get tagged in on Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram or anywhere? Like if someone was like, I know someone that would be perfect for this project, what is the description of that project that they think of you for? So that's my 2 cents on that matter. So those are the things that have been going well. I've been getting inbound leads. I've been doing some work and I've been surviving as a freelancer. I can pay my rent. Yay! And obviously September was the best month because I just had more work than, other months, basically. That's all been going well. You didn't turn up here to listen to what's been going well for me. You want to know where I fucked up because that's the title of this podcast episode. So where have things not been going so well? Number 1, emergency fund. Guys, I was an idiot. I quit my job without having any backup. Now, why is that dumb? Well, you might have guessed. You've got rent to pay. You've got life stuff. You've got, you might want to, go traveling. Getting a train in the UK is like taking out a mortgage, guys. It's insane. So suddenly, it was midsummer, super social time, sending, birthday presents to people on whatever, maybe going to festivals. I didn't have an emergency fund, which meant that summer was way more stressful than it needed to be. Because I was trying to get work, because I literally needed the work. And you know what happens when you need something? You're desperate. And you know what happens when you're desperate? You take whatever you can get, whether it's good or bad. You smell of desperation in client calls because you need the work. You know how unattractive it is if someone comes up to you in a nightclub and really wants you. It's just like, oh, I love you. I want to, we should go, do you want to come back to mine or whatever? That's too much. We've just met. I don't even know your name. Lucy, cool. No way. Thanks, Lucy, but no thanks. It's like that. And it's like that in a client call if you're just too forward and upfront and like, hey, I could do this for, £100. They're like, what? This guy, I don't trust him. He's too shifty. He needs this job and it's energetically pushing me away. I don't trust him. Why does he have no work? Maybe he's no good. Why is he charging so little? Maybe he's no good. You have no leverage. when you're desperate for work. So what is an emergency fund? Well, everyone talks about emergency funds being different things. For me, it's at least a month's worth of money in my account that I can get at any time at short notice, right? So for me, I basically need $2,500 a month to live, right? I don't have any kids. I'm very fortunate that I don't need to support anyone else. I don't have a dog. I don't even have a car, guys. So I am living low cost, and $2,500 in Bristol, in the west of England, that's good for me to survive, right? That's if it's less than $2,500, that's kind of awkward. But essentially, 20% tax, that goes £500, bosh, and then I've got £2,000 basically to pay my rent, pay my bills, do my life, right? I'm not a big spender, as you may have guessed from that. I'm not getting many Gucci bags or anything. I'm pretty easy breezy on $2,500. So, I need $2,500 in cash in my bank, which means that I have a runway. It means that I have leverage. So, if you're about to quit your job and you don't have money in the bank, I highly recommend you guys just thinking twice and just thinking, you know what, let's build up a little emergency fund before quitting my job to go freelance, because freelance is not that easy breezy. It requires consistent work in order for you to even do the creative thing, in order for you to even have the freedom of choice and time to live the life you want to live. But don't get sucked into this whole, oh yeah, freelancing's easy. No, freelancing's easy when it's easy. Freelancing's easy when you know how. Freelancing's easy when you've got contacts and consistent work. Freelance easy when you have trust in the space, and it takes time to build trust, okay? It takes time. So just have an emergency fund. Don't be a dumb idiot like me. Don't just quit cold turkey. Build up a little emergency fund. Then you've got the freedom to, you have a runway built up, okay? Now, speaking of money problemos, failure number 2 is cash flow. Cash flow, baby. What the fuck is cash flow? Cash flow is the flow of cash. It's not the amount you get paid for one project, right? It's over months. When is that money actually coming in? Okay? So some people have 30-day payment terms for projects, right? That means you might agree a healthy amount of money to receive, right? For that amount. For that amount of work, I mean. But that's going to come in 30 days, which means that you don't have that money for 30 days, obviously, right? So I think what I've really messed up is I had like 2 or 3 jobs that were all, happening simultaneously. And I was like, great, I got money. That's great. I've got money coming in. No, I've got money coming in 30 days because I was basically on their terms with the contract. I said, I'd like money in 7 days. They were like, no, we pay at the end of the month. We pay at the end of the 30 days. So I had 3 jobs that started all around the same time at the start of the month, and there was 30-day payment terms. Suddenly, I had no money. It came to the end of the month. I was meant to be paying for my rent, paying for the co-working space, paying, I had to repay my brother for something. It's all just like, all this money was coming out my account at the start of the month, and none of the money was coming in. So suddenly I had a cash flow problem. I didn't actually have no money. I had no money in my account for the time when I needed it. And so I think it's really important just to think about this. Like, a lot of people say, you've got to raise your rates. You've got to, charge what you're worth. Yeah, fine. But also just think, you are running a business. As a freelancer, you are running jackredley.design or whatever your name is as a freelancer, right? And think about your freelancing as a business. Because I think, for me, I've definitely been guilty of this since coming back to freelancing. I've been so excited just to get creative work and do creative work and explore stuff and be like, yeah, you know what? Actually, maybe if we change the easing of this animation, it will drastically change it. Maybe let's change the timing of that animation, or if there's a scroll trigger going on here, and you get so caught up in just like getting excited about the creative work. And I think the difference between successful freelancers and unsuccessful freelancers maybe is to do with having the business acumen to actually freelance successfully. It might have nothing to do with your creative skills. It's actually to do with like, do you have a Google Sheet where you're tracking what is coming in and what is going out? Do you know when someone hasn't paid you and you need to follow up with them? Like, do you have systems and processes that means that you are not just doing creative work as a hobby, like a side hustle? Are you treating this like a business? Do you have an understanding of how money works? Like how to have a runway, how to make sure that you have a system for money? Because frankly, I didn't, right? I'm still working it out, to be perfectly honest with you. I was so annoyed at myself because I had what I thought was loads of work, but that money wasn't coming in when I needed it. And that's so dumb, guys. So fucking dumb. So think about cash flow, okay? Think about your payment terms on a contract. Maybe think about how you want to work as well. I was speaking to Glenn from Flowwalkers, Glenn McWhinney, absolute legend in the Webflow space. And, we were talking about hourly work. Now, I got recently a project that was $100 an hour, or, I basically set my terms of $100 an hour. And I was so dumb, guys. I basically did the hourly work without getting any money up front. And Glenn was like, Jack, that's kind of crazy because you're just trusting them to do that hourly work and then get paid for that hourly work. So I'd done 10 hours of hourly work, hadn't received any money yet. So I was basically owed $1,000, which is a lot of money for me. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of money for anyone listening, but there's different levels to, what value is depending on where you're at. If you're an agency owner, maybe $1,000 doesn't mean that much, but for me as a freelancer, it meant a lot. And Glenn was like, why don't you charge 5-hour blocks of work, and then you can charge per 5-hour block. So you could charge $500 up front, do those 5 hours, and as you approach the end of that 5-hour block, you can say, look, I'm at 4 hours. Would you like to buy another block of hours? And that might be so obvious to you guys, but to me, I was like, just kind of, I had a contract in place, but I didn't have the cash flow in place. So just think about that, guys. Like, what type of freelancer do you want to be? What type of model do you want to have to ensure that you get paid consistently? Do you want to be a retainer freelancer? I'm thinking about this right now. Like, I've explored hourly, I've explored retainers, so get paid 10 hours a month to basically manage a website. I've done per project pricing, which works if you know exactly how long the project is going to take. Like, if it's like, I'm going to build this website for you, I've got the Figma files. The Figma files are all good. I know exactly what I need to build. There's consistent spacing in between everything. Then project pricing could work really, really well because you might know, hey, this project is going to take me a week to build, and I'm going to charge a per project price of, say, I don't know, $2,500 to build this, which means you're getting £500 a day, which is great, right? So, that might work out really well for you per project price. But just think a little bit about like, okay, how is my pricing model going to work for me to have consistent cash flow? And how am I going to ensure that clients, that I have some kind of system to say, look, my payment terms are 7-day payment terms or whatever, just so you don't get caught with your pants down. Because what the worst thing you could possibly do is to do a load of work with, no real idea of whether this client is going to pay you or not. And if they have a 30-day payment terms and, you've got no money in the bank to pay your rent, you might look like an idiot like me. It's funny saying all this stuff to you guys because I ask successful freelancers how they're successful the whole time. And, I've listened to a lot of failures. You'd think that I wouldn't make dumb mistakes. I make the dumbest mistakes. I'm such an idiot. And I think this is why it's so important to get back into the ring as a freelancer so that you are actually I feel like it's important for me to own these mistakes because I'm asking everyone else to tell me their deepest, darkest fears, and maybe I should show my own warts, as it were. Failure number 3: working for friends, showing the work you want to get. Okay, this is really important. There are freelancers in the Webflow space that are within the inner circle. What I mean by the inner circle is there's a number of different agencies that are looking for trusted freelancers to work with, and they will get given consistent work by those agencies because they are within the trusted circle. I'm thinking of developers like OK Devs. Now, some of them are more developers than Webflow developers, but those guys are getting a lot of development work, which is amazing, and that's really important. But my point is that they have got within a network of agencies that are getting big name brands who need development work. Those agencies then outsource to those trusted network of freelancers, and it means that they basically get other good projects because they're within that network. So, what did I do wrong? I worked for friends to basically, get different portfolios and different work going in my website. And I thought, hey, this is great. I'll work for friends. If we do a couple of weeks on a project and get something out there, then I've got consistent work. I've got testimonials. I can build from there. Because I haven't been freelancing for a couple of years. I've got work that's 2 years old, and I was a bit like, I kind of want to show new stuff. But that's kind of dumb because working for friends, not dumb, but working for friends, well, one, it's very low-paying projects. Two, those friends are not in the network of people necessarily that give you leverage. Like if you work for friends who pay you $1,000 to do a website, say, and you're doing design and development, so you're doing a lot of work, then, if you're doing mates rates, let's say you make a website for $1,000, then that friend has other friends that might need websites, but they're just going to give you more low-paying work and, quite difficult projects a lot of the time, I found, because essentially they want a lot for very little money. And they're also friends, so there's kind of they don't necessarily look at you like maybe a client who's just come to you because they want your specific services. They don't kind of treat you in the same way, and it's kind of hard to treat them as a client, I found. But also, their network is not a network that is going to give you, more sustainability for your freelancing. It's not going to give you a runway. You're going to be working a lot for very little is what I found. So instead of doing that, I think it's better to show the work you want to get. Maybe make concept work that really shows off what you can do. And shows off what you can do might be like, hey, I really, really want to explore, 3JS. Maybe you want to show off different automations. So you might make a website that shows automations happening, and you can make a little video about how this triggers that, and this form clicks to here, and the logic on the website. you might basically create something within a week without having a client, but gets you clients because you're showing the work you want to get. And then that will then bring you client work. So what I've found is that instead of working for friends, I think making experiential websites has been great for me. I make a landing page with a spline animation, and it kind of shows off what I can do. And I can do it quite quickly, and it gives me something to point people to or show when it comes to getting more client work. So I guess what I'm trying to say is this failure is kind of about like the company that you keep. People that don't want to pay a lot for a website have friends that also don't want to pay a lot for a website is what I've generally found. Someone that's willing to pay you for your expertise is generally going to have other friends or have other people in their network that will recommend you. And that really does give you leverage as a freelancer to have a sustainable business. Because otherwise, if you're just working for friends, it's quite hard to have a successful freelance business. What I would say, though, is that if you're still working for a full-time employer, and you're like, I've never made a website and I need some more case studies, then working with a friend on a project while you're still working, which is quite like low key. Maybe you're getting paid something, but not a lot. But you've got the space to say, look, man, I might get this for you next week or maybe the following week, but work's really busy at the moment. Then you've got that relationship which works both ways. Like you both benefit from this being quite a relaxed project, and it means that you've also got a portfolio project at the end of it. I think that can work really well. But if you're trying to actually like have a sustainable business, working with friends at the start, I don't think, in my experience, works nearly as well as doing experiential projects or showing the work you want to get without a client, and gives you it gives you a lot of exposure quite quickly is what I found. So to kind of give you an example of this, I made a website for Apple. I made this like kind of strange, not strange, but like I made this website which has an iPod Classic that scrolls down the page, and it uses a lot of GSAP, and it's quite an interesting like looking website, and it's the type of work that I want to get. It's more like focusing on a 3D asset as the main feature of the website, which scrolls down and then text kind of forms around that, or there might be videos and images that overlay with absolute positioning and whatever. That website actually got me inbound requests for work off the back of that. So that's worked way better than me working for 2 or 3 months for a friend for a project that they may or may not actually do anything with because they haven't invested much money, so they're not really working on it consistently. And it just means that this project might not even be a portfolio piece at the end of it because they haven't got very much invested financially and, as a result, emotionally. So that's a kind of quick ramble schmamble of the 3 failures that I've had recently. My 3 mess-ups, as it were, in 3 fuck-ups is probably a stronger title. I think I will keep to that title. But yeah, 3 months of freelancing. It's been slow going, but interesting, fun, and I'm definitely going to keep going. How have I been getting clients? Mainly through LinkedIn and Twitter. The other thing that I found really helpful though, guys, apart from consistently posting on social, is actually just talking to real humans. I've joined a co-working space. I speak at the co-working space. I do this thing called Webflow Wednesdays. Basically, anyone that has a Webflow related problem will come on a Wednesday to the kitchen table in the co-work and chat to me about it. And what's amazing is that I get maybe max 4 people, 5 people a week that come to this. But I tell you what, those 4 or 5 people tell their friends. And those 4 or 5 people are all working in this co-working space. They're all business owners, or, other freelancers that I might collaborate with or have tangential skills with. Like there's videographers, there's photographers. These people are all getting clients, and, where do videos live or photos live after they've been taken, potentially on a website? You might get work through that. So don't underestimate talking to real people. Social media is meant to be social. So start conversations as well as, posting your work, and reply to people if they comment on your feed. I find that's really helpful to start conversations. But then also, maybe in real life, maybe joining a co-working space would be great, or maybe looking for local events that you could speak at in your area. Maybe talking to people who are in your local area who have business-related problems. Like maybe there's events that are like business networking events for your local city or whatever that you could literally go to and be there in person. Just going to the Webflow conf will not get you work. Like, Webflow conf is going to be filled with other Webflowers who are all looking for work. So it's like we're just fish in a barrel, right? Whereas if you go to the local business like event, I don't know, construction owners in Bristol or whatever, maybe there'll be a load of people that know nothing about websites that need help with websites or whatever. So, think a little bit more than just, I'm going to go to an in-person Webflow meetup. Yeah, great. That's cool. Like, you're going to find a network of cool people there that you're going to get on with, make friends. That's all great. But actually, potentially to get work, that's not necessarily going to be as good as going to your kind of chosen niche or industry or whatever to actually chat to local people. So yeah, there's a few ideas there to get work at the end of this ramble schmamble that might be helpful. But yeah, I have found it really, really powerful to be in a co-working space, go in every day, talk to people, actually be sociable, and know what people are up to, because, maybe they don't need you now, but they might need you in the future. And, you might be able to help them out for free one time, and then they might be like, hey, Jack, I've actually got this bigger project which we'd like you to come in on. And also posting on social media daily, like showing the work that you want to get. Not just posting random shit. I'm talking about showing the work you want to get, visuals, photos, images of the work that you want to get, screenshots of the website. You could record screen and scroll down the website that you've just made. You could talk through why you made the design decisions that you made as you did it. Plenty of different ways to do that, but I definitely think that has been pivotal for me for getting clients on LinkedIn and Twitter. Ramble schmamble over. Next episode 107, we have got Maya Changbin. She has done illustrations for, I think, 60 days or maybe 90 days consistently. She was doing that to get more work, and now she's got way too much work. And her boyfriend's a Webflower. They're kind of a duo, doing loads of cool stuff. She's coming to Webflow Conf in London in a couple of weeks' time, and she's just a really, really cool girl. She will be coming on episode 107 of the podcast, and we will get back into the rhythm of me interviewing other people rather than just ranting at you in your ears. Hope this episode was somewhat helpful. How is freelancing going? Freelancing's going, freelancing's happening, but plenty to improve upon as I keep going, as I'm sure, whatever stage you're at, there's things to improve upon, aren't there, in the freelance space. Ciao for now, people. Thanks for listening. If you got this far, I love you dearly. And remember, keep on flailing, Webflailers.